I am live. I'm reading out of Lord of the Horizon, and I am now in part 2. The first part explained much about the life of Ra-Ab, who's now married to Mary. And this is playing in ancient Egypt. It is a little bit a follow-on from the Eyes of Horus, which was a rebellion group which defeated Set, or the darkness. Ra-Ab is in the nomarch of the Oryx. Part 2, Chapter 1. My estate near the royal city was most ably administered by my steward, so that each year I spent there no more than a few days. I always arranged that this visit should coincide with one of the festivals on which Pharaoh entertained his nobles to a banquet, hoping that Amenemhet would take the opportunity to renew the link between us. On such occasions he always greeted me with every courtesy, but it was not until the 10th year of his reign, 6 years after the death of his wife, that he asked me to come informally to his private apartments. Oh, it's very bright. I can't have that. I took this as an indication that he was ready to forget our estrangement. So I was disappointed when he limited the conversation to impersonal matters. Even when the meal was finished and the servants had left the room, he discoursed at length on the advisability of building a new aqueduct in the south, a plan which did not personally concern me, as it was outside my known. It became increasingly obvious that he was talking to counsel to conceal his thoughts, and at last, in desperation, I said, "Amenemhet, I know that it is not for me to choose the subject of our conversation, but in the name of friendship I ask why you have sent for me." The years have not changed you, Ra-Ab, and for the first time that evening he smiled. Another man might resent my long silence, yet I'm confident that you have not forgotten the promise that you made when last we sat together in this room, that you would return when I needed you. You know that to aid you is my greatest honor. Once I appealed to you as a husband, now I do so as a father. It is Senusert who needs your help, needs it most urgently. Unless you can reach him to judge his own heart, he will never make a pharaoh fit to carry on the traditions of which we try to be worthy. His grandmother treats him as though he already wore the double crown. She surrounds him with scribes and attendants who treat him with a deference which is unjustified by his character. He is 8 years old, 2 years older than Amenemhet, yet already I wish that it was your son, not mine, who will rule Egypt at my death. Had his mother lived, things would have been different. He hesitated. No, Ra-Ab, the fault is mine. I have left him too much in the care of women, who praise him when he is stupid and call him hero when he is only a braggart. As a father, I have betrayed him. You warned me against Kyosotoris, but pride closed my ears. Why don't you send her away? Because the boy feels for her an almost fanatical devotion. If I were to exile her, he would never forgive me. It would destroy my last chance of ever establishing the link of true affection with my son. What I'm about to ask, you have every right to refuse. I promise that it will make no difference to our friendship. I want you to take Senusert to the Oryx and bring him up as though he was your son. I'm greatly honored that you think my household the right background for your heir. His face softened. For nearly a year you and Mary made of a lonely pharaoh a man who was happy. Perhaps now you can save Senusert, though it will be difficult, for he must be an intolerable companion, even to himself. Bitter words for a father to use, Ra-Ab, but I fear you will find them fully justified. I should never ask you to take this disturbing influence into your house, if it were for myself alone, but it is for Egypt. Unless Senusert can prove his right to so great an authority, he shall go into exile. even though he is my son and I dearly loved his mother. For a moment I came to disliking Amenemhet. He had left his son in the care of a woman against whom he had been warned by his closest friend. His own sense of guilt had prevented him sending Kyosotores back to her own country, and now he blamed the boy for accepting her authority. Perhaps I did not conceal my thoughts as well as I imagined. Ra-Ab, do not condemn me unheard. I have suffered perhaps even more than you realize from having no one to whom I could give intimate affection. Sanuset seemed to love his grandmother, at least I took it for love. I was afraid to break the link between them lest he experience a little of what I felt at his mother's death. Why then are you willing to do it now? Because I have at last recognized that she is deliberately trying to destroy him. She does everything possible to protect his body from danger. He's not even allowed to climb trees or go on the river except when I take him with me. But she's trying to dominate his will, so that at my death she can rule Egypt in his name. That has always been her consuming ambition, to rule Egypt. Twice I have been the unwitting cause of removing the channel through which she hoped to find an outlet for her loss of power. Her husband died, and I am Pharaoh in his stead. Her daughter became my wife, and died because I loved her too well. Now, for the third time, I shall spoil her plans. She shall never see the boy again, or not until such time as you can assure me that he is in truth one of the eyes of Horus, who need not fear the schemes of Babylonians. So you are going to send her into exile? It is obvious that she will never be willing to relinquish her hold on Sanuset. I prefer her to remain under my roof. To send her away would be to give her the satisfaction of thinking that I fear her. She cannot harm me, and I'm able to protect my son. But there is another reason why I prefer her to remain. It suits me to know her plans, and though she has many spies in her pay, I pay them better. The strongest current of her life is her hatred for me. But I am protected against it, because she is no longer able to deceive me. Recently it came to my ears that she had received certain curious remedies at the hand of her foreign physician. Remedies likely to cure a man, only of the troublesome necessity of continuing to breathe. One of her servants died soon afterwards. She may have incurred her displeasure, but it is more probable that his death was a preliminary test. I thought it wise to tell her that, should I die before Sanuset became co-ruler, she was unlikely to live to see the ceremonies attendant on his ascension to the throne. I explained that, knowing the depth of her affection for me, the shock of my death was sure to hasten her own. She does not lack subtlety. She can recognize a threat even when it is concealed in smooth words. Not only foreign physicians have a remedy for living too long. May I assume that, should Kyosotores die, you would not be displeased? I do not wish to be deprived of one of the few amusements which I permit myself to enjoy, outwitting the Babylonian. You, who have sworn to live for Egypt, have not the right to indulge in so perilous an entertainment. Of that, Ra-Ab, I am the only judge. How can you prevent her following Sanuset to the Oryx? How can I deny her entry to my house if she demands it as a right? She will not know where he has gone. No one shall know, save your own family. I suggest you say that he is the orphan of a distant kinsman, whom you had the charity to take into your family. He will of course not be allowed to claim any royal privilege, and should he say he is my son, that can be ascribed to a delusion following a severe fever. How do you wish him to make the journey? In your barge. It may be necessary for your personal servants to share the secret, but I know you can rely on their discretion. I shall inform his grandmother that I am taking him with me on a progress to the north. Sanuset will be told the same story, which will put him in a good humor, for he enjoys standing beside me when I receive homage. You will arrange for your barge to join us at the end of the first day northwards. Then you will start immediately for the oryx. You think he will go with me willingly? He has often heard of Ra-Ab Hotep. What child has not, for the battle of the 600 has already become a legend? He will be flattered if you ask him to be your guest. Perhaps, for a day or two, he might even be obedient. Should he refuse to go with you, I give you my full permission to use any means you choose to enforce obedience. Any means. Do you understand, Ra? If, when I see him there, are scars on his back, they will not be questioned. The eyes of Horus chose me as their Pharaoh. Now they shall decide whether this child of my blood shall hold the crook and flail, or be condemned to exile. Chapter 1. Chapter 2 is royal heir, or royal heir.